it's day 2 of the Golf restoration project. I figured I'd show some video today. So first things first is check the alternator to make sure that it wasn't the source of the electrical problems, and it turns out that it was. The battery was registering about 12.5 volts when the car was off and only 11.5 when the car was on, so this alternator is not charging the battery properly. Here's a little pro tip if you're servicing the battery yourself. When you take off the positive cable, just wrap it in a glove, so that way you can leave it wherever you want and you won't have to worry about shorting out your car's electrical system. I also attempted to do some Bondo work here on the passenger front door. As you can see, I'm not very good at Bondoing. Do not ask me to Bondo anything in your car. I cannot do it. Alright, so I also did some work pulling the instrument cluster, or as our friends across the pond would call it, the binnacle, because my odometer was frozen. And the reason why the odometer was frozen was because of this little red plastic gear here, which was attached to the spindle. Unfortunately, there's no way to salvage this gear. The only way to fix this problem is to grab a new one. Hey, and it's a bit later in the afternoon, and I just coated the entire top of the car with anti-rust stuff from Rust-Oleum. Alright, it's about 4:30 where I am, winding down the day here, masking off some more places to put Bondo in. Got a couple of holes here, which entailed, you know, knocking the rust out, sanding it down, so that it would take the rust converter and then spraying the rust converter. There are a couple other spots around the car, which you can see are the parts with lots of tape around it. Got a pretty good sized gash down here, but don't worry, it's pretty much all cleaned up. And there's one little guy back here, and then there's one more on the front of the door here. This guy sanded back down a little bit, so he's nice and smooth. As much as it was fun to spray the roof, I think I learned my lesson. So next time I'm touching up these little spots around here. I think I'm gonna get instead of the spray paint, I'm gonna get the actual, like, stuff that's the consistency of paint, so I can paint it on with a small brush for something like this, because there's no reason to mask it off and try and do it with spray paint. It'll take forever. Oh, one exciting thing that did come in the mail though. Ba-ba-da-bum! I got the Bentley manual. This Bentley manual is probably the greatest repair manual that I've ever laid my eyes on. It's nice and thick, goes into plenty of detail. So for example, it'll tell you right here, it tells you to label spark plug wires, because this is an 85 after all, so it actually has a distributor. It says to use a 13/16 spark plug socket, which I just picked up the other day. Then you come over here to the spark plug table, and I have a GX engine. It'll tell you what the gap is supposed to be at. So I come over here to AutoZone.com, and I can look at, for example, this NGK spark plug, which is a 13/16 plug and is already pre-gapped 2.8 millimeters. So I can just put it right in, no problems. So while I was just sitting here at the desk editing the video, I was fidgeting with the odometer here, and I realized that this little black gear, which connects the gray gear from the odometer to this big black gear down here in the trip, that if you remove that, the odometer spins at a more regular pace. Because sometimes when that black gear engaged with both of these gears, gray gear will get to this point right when it's about to flip a number, and it'll get jammed up. Sometimes it'll just be a little rough and it'll keep going, and other times it would just stop completely. It'll get to this point and it'll jam. So I'm just going to make the decision to leave that gear out. What this means is that the tripometer will not work, but the odometer will. But the good news is that as soon as that other replacement gear comes in, this odometer will definitely work 100%.